So today I am joined by the wonderful Charity Smith, who is located in Missouri. I think that's the Midwest. Is that
Yeah,
Midwest?
that's Midwest.
Of the USA, in Kansas City. And she has the wonderful Legacy Massage. And I'll get her to tell us a little bit about what they do there at the I was gonna say studio, but what do you call it? Your practice?
Yeah, studio, clinic, practice, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
At the clinic.
Cool.
I don't know.
Clinic. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Charity, how long have you been a therapist for?
I've been a therapist for about 10 years. I've owned my business for 8. And I've just I hired my first employee about 2 years ago, and then just hired my third. So we've got Jordan and Melody on board, and yeah, it's been really exciting. We found Christina with scar therapy just barely, and we are really excited to kind of just like take us off. So it's going to be really, really good. But yeah, what else?
Yeah. So who are your wonderful clients that you see there in Kansas City?
So previously to scar therapy, I did something called core therapy, similar to structural integration or Rolfing. That's kind of my niche in where I kind of dive into. And what I was looking for was a niche for my employees, because I felt like a lot of people were like, oh, I want to book with you, for some kind of specialized training. And what I was looking for was like a draw for them to have. And I kind of wanted to do it like as a team to like unify us, that we all had something in common that we could like bond over. Because prior to that, Jordan was kind of actually fresh out of school when I hired her. So she's really been only doing it for about 2 years out of school. So I wanted to give her more experience. She had wanted the environment of like trauma informed, which go figure, a lot of trauma in scars. So that was like, I just kind of had talked to her like what she was wanting and looking for. And when I saw this opportunity come up, I thought it could fit well into the niche that we kind of already had. Since I was kind of going the direction of structural work, it wasn't necessarily like spa, like our clinic wasn't like that kind of side. So that's why I kind of picked that route. And Melody, she just like had jumped on board, and I thought this was kind of the time to kind of kickstart, bond us all together, get a niche together, and move forward. So that explain a little bit.
And did you actually fulfill that, or are you seeing the beginning of that coming into fruition through the program?
Yeah, the beginning of it. I think what we're doing right now is the clientele that we already currently have. We are just noticing the scars and saying, hey, can we take a look at this? We have our training, we're certified in this now. Just give it a try, and people have been shocked and they're just loving it. So I think we've just kind of started with the people that we had, and we're really excited to kind of branch out. I've started some Google ads and some different things, and just kind of like telling my own clients, like, do you know somebody with a scar? Let's start there. So yeah, it's been even my girls have seen tons of really great results. So it's been good.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. So with you and your core therapy, how has the scar therapy worked with that for you?
Yeah, it's been really interesting integrating it, because they're vastly different, right? But what I find, the lady that I actually interviewed, I kind of talked a little bit about this. She had like hysterectomy, and before I was able to like even access her psoas, I realized like the scar was kind of restricting me from getting to it. And so I was able to actually do the scar work first, and then actually on the second session I went into the psoas, and she even noticed like, wow, what a huge difference to be able to get in there and first work the scar. So it's been like, I feel like it's integrated really well to what I do. It's not like, it doesn't have to be one or the other. I feel like it can blend with whatever you're doing, because a scar is there, and if you're going to work something, you might as well address the issue first. So that's been the way I've kind of done it.
I really love how it's complementing your already expertise. So I
Oh,
really love that. Yeah,
yeah,
fantastic.
thanks.
So before you came across this program, were you at all interested in scars?
No, I had no idea. I had no thoughts, nothing, none whatsoever. I was just like, I don't know. I knew you. I knew you were great. So I was like, whatever you do is like touch like gold. So I thought, what else? Let's check it out.
That's fantastic. I love
Yeah,
that so much. I love that because before it was on my radar, it wasn't on my radar at all, and then it was like on my radar in a massive way.
yeah,
So yeah.
exactly. Yeah, it wasn't on my radar, but it had the key components that I was looking for, you know. So yeah,
No, that's great. That's
yeah,
wonderful. I'm just being really curious.
love it.
Okay. So you'd had no previous training in scars, and
No.
and from what you've told me just then, it has added to your knowledge. And the
Oh,
staff,
absolutely.
had
Yeah.
they done any previous scar training?
No, no, like I said, Jordan was fresh out of school. So this was kind of her first, like, here we go. Let's learn something new out of school besides just being trained by me, you know. So I wanted her to have something outside of what I could offer her. And yeah, so
Yeah.
they were not even interested at all. And Melody, she vastly works with a large population of veterans. And
Yeah.
so lots of scars, lots and lots and
Lots
lots
of
of scars.
scars. Yeah.
Yes,
So
yes. So that,
that was a good match as well.
yeah,
That lined up,
yeah,
aligned.
yeah. And I talked to her about that before she joined. I just said, hey, that we're interested in doing this. I mean, she had barely, like, not even signed the contract yet. And I was like, this is what we're doing. Do you want to be on board? How do you feel? And because she already kind of knew her niche, she was like, oh, this will pair great. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, great. That's fantastic. Um,
Yep.
and I love that you were thinking about, I want to do something with my team. And do you think that that has, I think it would bond a team together.
Yeah.
Have you found that?
Absolutely, because I think I had felt so like, or I think I had the perception when people came into the clinic and they were booking with Jordan, they were like, oh, is she less than? I had her price lower, which I've changed that.
Yeah, good.
And like it was like this separation, right? Like, oh, I do this special therapy. And people were like, am I not getting like as good of service? And so I wanted to like even the playing field. So we all are the same price now. And it really helps. Like, I've made it super clear, like, we're all trained in this, like, we're equal. I wanted to make it very much like anybody who came to our website would be very clear about this, like, our whole staff, everybody does this. And yeah, it bonded us. I think it made it, instead of like a one up, one down relationship, it made it seem like just more cohesive and yeah, I
Yeah.
think bonding. So
Yeah, so everyone is the expert.
yeah,
There's
yeah,
not one therapist that's like the head therapist or
yeah. I didn't like
yeah.
that superiority kind of complex, or
Yeah. Yeah.
not that I was trying to, but it was just coming off that way, I think,
Yeah.
automatically.
Yeah.
So
That's the interpretation when people appear on the website and go, oh, all
yeah,
right, okay. Yeah.
right, right.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
that's awesome. And I love that you've restructured everything to kind of reflect your personal attitude towards your
yeah,
colleagues
yeah,
and employees. Yeah.
yeah,
So I love
yeah.
that so much, Charity. Okay. So we've kind of talked about what's attracted you to the training. It's all online. So
Yes.
how did you find wrapping your head around learning a practical skill online?
You knew I was very apprehensive. I was very, very, very apprehensive. I was like, very, like, I was almost disbelieving. I was like, I don't know. Like, it's a pretty heavy investment to say, like, am I, like, to take this risk, right? To say, like, am I going to be able to actually learn this skill? For that to even be in question felt like, oh man, this feels scary. But I knew, again, I was like, you're great. I'm taking the leap. And it was just as you said, like you said, you're not training people from off of the street.
Yeah.
This is not that. You're a training massage therapist, right? it is simple but effective, and I think it is something that you can learn online. I was, like I said, apprehensive, but it became clear very quickly that, like, oh yeah, you could learn this online, no problem. And I think it was nice, like having my team, we practiced with each other on, I mean, I think all of us had like C-sections and stuff, so we could practice on each other and each other's family, even just in the very like early days. And kind of just even like talking about it, like, what are you learning now? Like, what have you been studying this week or whatever? But yeah, it was no problem learning online. I was impressed. So yeah.
Right. That's wonderful. That's really, really good, because that can be a block for people, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
just are like, how does this work? So how
Yeah.
did the structure work for you, having the modules and having the meetings and being overseas, in
Yeah.
separate country, time zones? How did all of that work for you guys?
Luckily, the time zone worked. It would have been tricky if it was like the middle of the night or something, but it was like Sunday evening for us, which was just fine. Put the baby to bed and then came on online, so that was not a problem. And then, like you said, during the week I could just watch it at my leisure. Like I didn't have to have any certain time schedule, which was great. So no specific problems, just like being overseas. And I guess the modules, it is a lot. I will say, like, you need to be willing to invest the time and make sure like you have the time to put away for it. But I think it's maybe a good thing. You can like feel the dedication, like you're not moseying through it. It's something you have to put intention towards, which is good. So yeah.
Yeah. And you were able to take the skills from online and put them in practice.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, I mean, like I said, almost right away, like as I started learning it online, I just kind of started
Doing it.
playing around with it. Yeah.
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 So
And that's
yeah, I can
encouraged.
do it.
That's what we hope and dream is going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's been really, really good. So
Yeah.
absolutely been able to
That's
take
great.
online, put it in, easy,
Yeah. So
good
it's like
transition.
real world learning almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good.
Another part of it is a lovely presentation. So
Yeah.
the case study that we share.
Yeah.
How did you guys go with that?
I loved it. I probably took a little far, but
I loved it.
my thought was like, okay, I can do this once halfway, or like I can just do it and use it for presentations for the doctors. So we're actually getting that set up now. And so, I mean, it took a couple of hours because I sat down and did that. But I mean, you saw my girls, they didn't, and you don't need to. Like I saw there was a variety of people, whether you just had a picture and you just talked about it, or you did like I did like 5 different people because I just couldn't stop. Like my hands were like, I see people and I was just like, how would you feel about this? And so they just kept kind of coming up for me. The case study was great though, because I felt like this was a very good way of like an introduction for people. I sent out like an email just saying like, hey, we need some case studies. Would you be willing? I just talked to people that I would see in the clinic, and it got people in the doors. Like if we had a slow week, I was like, oh, boom, we need to just case studies, pull it up. And it just like got us practice too. I think just practice. That's what I kept telling Jordan and Melody is like hands-on bodies. Just get your hands on bodies. Just try it, because it feels a little scary in the beginning. You're like, surely this cannot work. It's just so light. I don't know. But hands-on bodies, you see that it does. And so that's just what I kept telling them. And yeah, I think the presentation, no big deal. Just do it. It's great.
Yeah. I love that it's, like you say, it kind of forces your hand into doing it.
Yeah.
It forces you to tell people that you're doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it
Yep.
creates something you can use after the course is finished, and you're doing
Yep.
that all at the same time as
Yeah.
you're learning. So it's kind of condensing and fast tracking that whole, oh, now I finished a course. How do I tell people about it? Yeah. So
it just gets you there over the hump.
you're over
Yeah.
that bit. Yeah. You know what
Yeah.
price you're doing already. You know this, you know, because we talk about that stuff in the
Yeah.
so it's
Yeah.
like a one-stop shop for a modality, really.
I think it's
That's my
great.
hope and dream anyway, that
Yes.
you get the hands-on, but you get the other stuff too, that
How to
sometimes
implement it.
can be missing when we go for like the weekend workshop or
That is true. I feel like you go for a 2-day and you're like, now how do I go back and actually do this? Like implement it into my shop. So I think that's true. I think that's
yeah.
Good.
It's been my experience as well. And unless I had already organized people, it might be too scary for me to try.
Yeah. And I feel like people are they're just so receptive. Like when I was like, hey, will you be my case study? They're like, sure, I'd love it. And of course, I never discounted it. Honestly, I kept my price for the case study. I kept it the same. Nobody blinked an eye. Nobody blinked an eye. Yeah. Jordan had a little bit harder of a time. She was like, I'll discount it. And I was like, don't do that. Don't discount your work. I was like,
because it lowers in the eyes of the person, it lowers the value of the skill, and it lowers your ability to do it. Yeah.
Exactly.
So that advice works. Don't discount. Just do it and be brave. And honestly, it works.
Exactly. I just said, hey, will you be my case study? I'm looking for this. I think this would be beneficial for you. And then I just waited. Yes or no? You know, and they did. So it's great.
So good. Well done. Well done, because that can be a scary thing for us to do as therapists as well.
Yeah.
Especially when we're in that learning phase and we're like, oh.
Yeah.
But the key is the techniques themselves are so simple. They're so simple and light. So you're actually not even going to hurt someone, even if you don't do it right.
Agreed. And I think that's actually what was shocking to me, because my work is typically so deep. I thought my clients are going to be like, I'm not doing anything, or like they're just like, oh, I don't really feel it. You know, the interesting response that I got from my typical clients who got my deep work was that on these areas where it was typically very sensitive, numb, tingling, it felt good. Deep work wouldn't have felt good. And so it just was very interesting that they were like very receptive to it, where they typically are like, give me everything you've got. Their responses were like, no, this is exactly what I needed. And I was like, okay, I love it. So
that is amazing. Incredible feedback as well from your clients. Very useful for you to have that information. Yeah, it was nice to get like written testimonials. I popped them on my website, on my social, everywhere, and I just was like, see, people, it's okay. Good on you. So talking about, we kind of touched a little bit on the challenges. Was there anything else that you found challenging or not quite what you thought it would be with the program, Charity?
How honest? No, just kidding. I think one thing I would just say to do differently next time, and I think I let why did I just forget her name? Yvette. Add a week, or maybe I kind of misunderstood. Like if you so we did week 6, and then I would have met for week 6 to talk about week 6, and then given a week to do the presentation, and then met for the presentation.
A finishing week,
or
to
even
close it all off. And I actually think that is actually valid, because I kind of sometimes think myself, gosh, that doesn't feel finished.
Because that week that you're learning week 6, you're also trying to prepare your presentation. But if they could be split in 2, you could focus on that last week of learning, talk about it with the group. And then the next week, you're focusing on getting your presentation all buttoned up. And then you could present whether you break that into two. I know that we had a lot of people, maybe group A, group B, depending on the size or whatever, but that would be my only, like, the biggest thing that I felt just a little rush towards the end where I was like, oh, and we didn't get to talk about week 6. So that was my only thing.
Yeah, which is a shame, actually. We are having another presentation day on the 15th of May. So
for everybody else who didn't get.
Everybody else, so like the other half, so for people that weren't quite ready. So I think we have 8 presentations and I've allowed for 2 hours.
What? There's still 8 more to go?
Yeah, we had half of the class didn't. So we had 16 of us did we? No, we had 20. We had 20 of us in the class.
But there weren't 20 people showing up on Zoom.
No, because some people can't because of their time zones or their work schedule.
Interesting.
So some people had like full-time jobs and they're working part-time as therapists. Some people are working on a Monday and they're like already booked. And it's like, wow. That's why you get a letter at the beginning going, put these in your diary now.
No, I'm sure the feedback has come before. So
and it's totally valid. And I actually kind of agree. But this was the most people we'd had in one intake. So it was so that was a learning experience for me as well.
Everybody.
So how can I do this better? How can I make this even better,
smoother? I think there could just be some smoothed edges, just smooth out the edges.
And I got your info on some of these videos, and I've been gradually going through and updating. So
it'll just take time, and it will be great. And you can cut this part out if you want, but
no, that's cool. And thank you. I really do appreciate it. I love it. So it's wonderful.
I know. Eventually, when I someday create a course, I will understand the heart that I'm sure it's taken years and years to. It's a lot of work, and you've done great.
Oh, thank you. And it has been a bit of a labor of love, the scar therapy course. As you can tell, I had really long hair when I filmed it.
Been a while.
So I filmed it in 2019.
Wow.
And then 2020 hit and just knocked the wind out my sails. And it wasn't until the very end of 2020 that I had finished it. But not 2020 knocked the wind out of a lot of people's sails.
Everybody. Oh like I know it did mine. What happened? That was quite a year.
It's quite a year, wasn't it? Interesting. So would you recommend the course to other people?
Of course I would recommend the course. I think it's very detailed, which I think is great. Like you said, it's not a weekend course. This isn't a 2-day workshop. This is I would say, very comprehensive, and something that you can do at your own pace. Like I said, intentional pace, but you can choose when you do that. And I think it's a skill, you kind of had advertised, it's good on your body, I think it's a nice balance between both of my work that it's a reprieve on my body for sure, which I think is huge. I would definitely recommend it too. And it's just hard work on our body. So I think all therapists, this is a great transition, so I would highly recommend.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you. One more thing. How was the support that you received, from Yvette, and did you get all your questions answered? And
I got my questions answered from Yvette. I got all that done. I think onboarding was a little tricky, but it probably was just my experience. I think there was some glitches, but my 2 girls had a good experience. They got their username, they got everything in efficiently. So I think it was just my little glitch going through.
There's a few bumpy bits there.
But the girls did, so it shows that it's not just it's not the process. It was probably just some glitches. So, yep.
Cool. Awesome. Brilliant.
Yeah.
And lastly, do you think about scars differently now?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. I mean, I didn't really think about them before, so leaps and bounds, 100%. I see them and I just think, oh, we can do something about that. We can integrate this into your body. And just, yeah, informing my clients on what it can do and how it can help them. And, you know, yeah, I've had positive feedback from everybody that I've done, which has been great. I don't know. It's been good. So
Excellent. That's really what I hope for. Yeah. I hope it continues to grow and you get lots more success with all your scar therapy.
I do too. I know we are going to. I think it's going to be great. We've been doing like chair massage events at for like nurse appreciation every Monday in like different hospitals, and it's been amazing because we keep telling them like, oh, we're starting this scar therapy stuff. Like we're in these hospitals right there with all like doctors, nurses, all these practitioners, and so we're setting up this the presentation like you talked about, and I feel like we have such a good in. I'm like, this is gonna explode. It's gonna be something that's not in our area at all, and it's just like, okay, this is gonna go places. This is gonna do something for us here, which is great. I'm excited.